All right, guys, good morning. Hopefully you guys didn't get too wasted last night. No, I think it was a pretty early night. We're going to cover bent arm locks today. They're going to primarily attack the inside of the elbow through like a mirror lock, basically an Americana. We don't have much time. We have 1 hour. So we're going to go through 3 different positions that I use them for, and then kind of play with it from there. So we'll start with a basic mirror lock. This is probably my top 3 submission that I do. I really like it a lot. I think about it like this. If I want to attack your knee, I can straight knee bar you, right? Or I can add a rotation for a heel hook. And I think a heel hook is clearly a superior submission. With a knee bar, we tend to be farther away from the torso. As we get farther away from the torso, we allow our opponent to escape because they have more spaces to escape, right? When we bend the knee, we get closer to the hips. We have more hip control, we have more torso control, and we can break in a smaller space, right? So an arm lock's the exact same. If I have a straight arm bar, it's pretty easy to defend an arm bar. I'm so far away from you at the time of break, right? If I can do a bent arm lock, and I can twist it from this area here, then I'm much closer to you. I have a lot better torso control, okay? So that's kind of our idea. Let's start with closed guard. And we're gonna go for an overhook on the closed guard, right? So my favorite way to do it is just to swim an arm to the inside. And I'll usually try to check one arm. And the cool thing is it should sort of feel like I'm attacking her left arm here, right? So I'm gonna grab it, let's come. But I'm actually gonna attack the other arm, right? So it's kind of a little bit of a bait and switch. If I just kind of reach up and grab it, she's gonna defend it. If I come to the inside, it looks like this arm is being attacked. I'm gonna really push this arm away and pull with my knees. But I really want that arm. Yeah, and once we have this, we're gonna test this a little bit. If I have a gi on, we have one gi, all right, I'll grab my own lapel, or I'll grab her lapel. But for now, let's just try to get our thumb right in our chest, right in our sternum, and our thumb should be as close to our chin as possible, right? I do this by not only bringing my thumb up, but also by bringing my chin down and kind of meeting myself halfway. The goal here is that as I do this, my arm is higher than her arm, all right? Not by much, but a little bit. So every time she tries to move her arm away, I'm just staying on top of her. So if I just stay flat on my back and she starts to escape, we talked about this yesterday, if she moves twice before I move once, she's starting her escape. So every time she moves, I adjust. And all we're gonna do is have her just release her arm. All right, so we're gonna drill this part. Once I have it secured, we're gonna spar this. And she's just doing anything she wants to get her arm free. She has no rules. She can't eye gouge or fish hook me. Fish hooks are fine. But she gets her arm free, then we just reset and do it again. Make sense? Let's see how long we can hold that overhook. Let's go. How to control a strong overhook is super important. In NoGi, we have very few strong grips. Usually our grips in NoGi are fleeting. They happen for a short moment of time. An overhook we can usually control for quite a while. So it's really important to learn how to get into an overhook. From closed guard, it can be challenging because obviously Leia knows it's bad to be overhooked, right? But once we have it, we should be able to maintain that for a period of time that allows me to advance towards a submission. Once we're in an overhook, her arm only has 3 options, right? Her arm can hug my shoulder like this. Her arm can be straight, or her arm can make omoplata shape, right? Nothing else in the whole world can happen from there. So every escape, everything she does happens with one of those 3 things, okay? So what I mean is, if I have my overhook, she can hug my shoulder, she can have her arm straight, or she can make omoplata shape. That's it, right? Most good grapplers want to make omoplata shape because they can now pummel their arm to the inside and strip the arm free, right? And so I want to try to avoid that. What happens is, the only time that she will start to grab my shoulder is if I attempt to push her off of me. because she wants to hold nice and tight to me. And so if I open my guard and I step on the mat, push, she tends to grab my shoulder. Right? Because if she doesn't grab my shoulder, her arm gets long, she gets thrown away from me. So if she feels no threat of being thrown off of me, she has no reason to grab a hold of me. Does that make sense? So what I mean is, I can't fake this. When my foot goes to the mat, I'm going to actually try to like sweep her with it. Now she has to grab a hold. It's a very natural and a very smart thing for her to do. All right? Once that happens, we're looking to move her elbow to my belly button. So I have an overhook, nice and tight. I'm going to step, kind of go for like a hip bump sweep. I push her away. Now my hips move away and her elbow goes to my belly button. I grab an invisible collar here, or a real collar if they're wearing it, but I never put my hands close to me. They go on her chest, like this. Okay? The reason is, if my hands go here, she can now use her left hand to hand fight and start breaking that away from me. If my hand goes to here, I feel just as strong, and I can have a free hand to do my own hand fighting. So the higher this reaches up, the tighter it's going to be. And I'm very close to her. And now I think about a heel hook break. I want to break right here, so I add pressure to there. And it should be a very small movement. If this arm is relaxed, I got to move a long way to get a break. I don't want that, right? I want to finish in this very small space. So I have my overhook. I'm going to step, push her towards you guys. On the recoil, my hips go away. I slide in. Sorry. That face was perfect. That was real. No acting. All right? Once we're here, I don't want to move my head away from her. I want to scoop myself underneath her to get a finish. Okay? Our goal needs to always be the same whenever we submit someone. I want to submit you in the smallest movement possible. Right? Movement is always going to assist her escape. So I don't want to move. I want to get tighter and tighter and tighter and swallow her. All right? The goal is to eat her alive like this. Does that make sense? So, hip bump to create that grab. My hips go away. We slide into that mirror lock. Then we add that pressure by scooping underneath her, not by pulling away from her. Cool? Let's do that. So there's other ways to make that happen, right? But I think this one works really well. You have to give somebody a reason to grab a hold of you, right? Sometimes they will just grab you, right? It's not totally wrong for them to kind of hunker down and just hug into you. If they're not giving you much motion, I got to move more around them, but the result's still the same. This one's cool because it happens very quickly. And so I think about the same exact motion of doing a hip bump sweep to kimura, right? If I go hip bump sweep and they post their arm on the mat, and then I process what happens next and I try for the kimura, I waited way too long. Okay, it has to happen kind of instantly where they post out to defend the sweep. I know I can grab the kimura and I go from there, right? Same idea. So I feel them grab a hold of my shoulder, but it's not because I want to mirror lock them. I want to sweep them, or I want to armbar them, or just get them off of me. So if I don't sell that and really try for that first motion, then they have no obligation to connect to me, right? So I can't fake the hip bump. I have to really go for the hip bump, yeah? So a mirror lock is basically any like interior rotation in like an Americana shape. We can do it like we just did it now, where we're using an overhook, but we can also do it where we hug it to our body. And so if you're familiar with leg locks, it's kind of like going from a traditional heel hook to like a tombstone foot lock or like a Mikey lock, where we're gonna hug it to our chest. And so I find this one usually from a triangle, right? So when you go for a triangle, oftentimes a big person will put elbows on the mat to defend it, right? So what I mean is I have a triangle. And she will go this way as a means to defend the triangle. All right? It's very hard for me to get a triangle from here. I have to scoop my arm under her left leg to get a good rotation to finish the triangle. So it's very tough from here, especially if they're large. All right? So elbows are down so I can attack this arm. I can create the exact same bent arm lock shape, that Americana shape, by scooping under her wrist and bringing myself to it. All right? And so I'm going to try and get under the wrist, and I don't try to pull her wrist to my arm. I bring my head down to her wrist. I like to go figure 4 and just start moving myself. From here, I can grab a hold of the wrist, put it to the high side of my shoulder. And now we're in that same shape. So I'll relax so she can look up. We're in that same shape. I use the triangle to lock the shoulder. And I use my arms to lock the wrist. And then my hips break through the inside of the elbow. So if I have a more traditional triangle shape, it'll be hard to get to it. So when she goes to the elbows to the mat, I'm going to loosen my lock and move my thigh to the mat like this. The cool thing is this leg now acts as posture control. So if my leg's on top of her head, it's hard for her to posture up. If my leg is here, it's pretty easy to posture up. So I'm to the inside. I look for that hand, start sliding underneath the hand. So grip nice and tight here. I go figure 4 and start pulling the hand away. Just like that. All right, it's the exact same shape. She can feel that I can move to here. She's tapping here. So theoretically, if I have a hold of her wrist, controlled to my body, nice and tight, I can move that much farther to continue to break her arm. All right, and you'll see this one in Gordon Ryan versus Kyle Bain. This is how Gordon Ryan won that match with a triangle Americana shape like this. It's a very, very, very strong break. With the mirror lock, we have an arm lace and our hips kind of go underneath. This one, the hips actually do the breaking. So we have great, powerful break mechanics. So one more time. I shoot my triangle. She defends by going to the side. I move my leg to the outside. All right. I'm going to look for a bite of the wrist. I bring my body into her. All right. I'm going to cover the wrist. Start breaking that grip. Keep that wrist up high towards my top shoulder. And then you start adding pressure through my hips. But it should feel like the exact same break as that first one. Make sense? Let's do it. So it's really important. We have, this group's going to get called out real quick. I have to call you guys out. But you guys made a great error. Right? And this is highlighted by the size difference, right? Or the strength difference also, but size and strength. Exactly. So he clearly couldn't defend well enough. It's if we're talking about grip breaking, right, for an arm lock, let's go back and talk about it from an arm bar, right? If I have a traditional arm bar on Leia, lay on your back. If I want to break her grip and straighten her arm, if I pull her elbow, I can pull as hard as I want, right? Because this will never break her grip. I'm just pulling her arm off her body, right? So I have to move myself to the grip and pull the grip. That will make it work, right? So what you were doing on the last one was just this, right? And so if I put myself into the triangle, roll up and turn. I need a spinning thing. All right? If I have this, the same thing. If I grab her here and I pull her arm, I'm pulling her upper arm off her body. Right? If the arm comes off the body, I still win. But it probably won't. So I have to move myself and get out towards the end. So I hinge at my hips, not at my sternum. So I got to move myself up here, so that my hips are covering her elbow, right? Especially if they're bigger than me. So my triangle walks up a little bit higher, and I move myself toward again. And I move myself out closer so my head is on her hand. Because now I have a much better time grip breaking from here. Okay? So if I try to grip break from here, it'll always fail. She's going to feel way stronger than me. So I got to move myself up and around so I can hinge over that forearm, get my grip. And now, if I move my upper body without moving her hands and then play catch up, well, clearly my hips are weaker than my biceps, right? So if I hinge first and then pull with my arms, I've already went out of order. I'm not strong enough to make up for that. So my arms, like yesterday, my arms strictly become like strapping. My arms hold on to things. So I bring myself to her arms, and now my arms are locked in. They don't move. If I move and my arms move, I've moved for no purpose. So I'm nice and tight to her. I move only if I can keep her hand on my body. Once the grip is broken, then I can adjust. But the same thing, if I move here, she'll never tap, right? So I keep it glued. I only move as far as I can move with this. If I move the way I just did and go towards the ceiling and try to rotate her elbow, she can rotate, right? So go belly up. All right, elbow in the face. All right, so I don't want that. This is the exact same rule with a heel hook. If I have a heel hook here and I rotate that heel to the ceiling, that causes the gator roll. So I want to do the opposite. I want to roll towards the mat. All right, now I'm belly down-ish. Or I'm fighting towards belly down. As I go to put pressure on, now she cannot roll, right? So where does she go? She can't do a forward roll, right? She can't laterally roll to the outside. She can't laterally roll to the inside. She can't posture up. She's just kind of stuck here, right? Most people will try to drive themselves back into me. If they do that, we just go back to our regular triangle, right? That's what I wanted in the first place. I wanted that triangle where I can underhook the leg. So if they find themselves here to defend the triangle, we attack that inside arm lock. If they drive in to save the arm, they're putting themselves into a more traditional, deeper triangle. That's kind of the action-reaction I want. I want to have them have very few options, and all of the options are bad. Yeah. So the last one is going to be a review of what Leah taught yesterday from mount. From a triangle, and that's going to be a kimura shape, right? The other ones were Americana shapes. This one's going to be kimura shape, but it's not like a traditional kimura where I grab a double wrist lock. It's going to be kind of like a single arm kimura. So what happens in this case is we have our triangle. Well, she gets her hands behind my butt to defend, right? So she has good posture. She keeps her ear off her shoulder by having this arm defended. Rotate. So all I'm going to do is lock my triangle up. If I have a regular triangle, I have good access to rotating this direction, but I have a hard time rotating this direction. So I'm going to switch to the outside triangle. So I control the head, move to the outside. Well, now it already put me in line with this arm. So I can see this arm much better. So now I'm going to bridge up. I'm going to look for her wrists. I go straight down the crack of my ass, so there's always space there. I move myself out to the outside, and I hook the arm like this. She can keep the grip. This is really cool. We talked about this back there. Oftentimes, with these types of breaks, the people will try to tap, or they will tap before the grip even breaks. And that's kind of the tension I want. So I bring my head into the elbow. I create a figure 4 shape. I shrug my shoulders. And I just start pulling and rotating. I want to create a lot of tension here. I'm at like 80% choke strength. I would love her to tap from the choke. If she gets a calf cramp and taps, I win still. I don't care. I want her whole body to hurt right now. So nice and tight. Bring my head to the elbow. Shrug my shoulder and hug in tight. I'm squeezing like I'm going to choke her arm. Right? I'm flexing everything here. I'm going to pull enough to get some exposure of the hand, and then I'm going to add a rotation. All right, but it should be a very, very small finish. And I really want you to be so scared of that grip break because you know when the grip breaks, the hand's going to spin. All right? I want you to be able to, I want my opponent to tap before I break the grip because the fear of the shoulder rotation is so strong. Okay? So traditional triangle gives us access to the underhook for the leg. So I need an outside lock triangle. So I switch my line and triangle, which automatically puts me in line with this arm. I bridge up to create space to get my hand underneath, and I hook the arm. I'm not going super deep here. I'm kind of going like this, so I can use my bicep on her forearm. I bring myself into a figure 4 for a rear naked choke grip. Head comes down. I'm going to go tight with my legs. I'm not going to pull with my arms. Okay? My head stays down and I stay tight to her. I use my legs to create the rotation. And it barely moved. Right? And it's kind of a reoccurring thing with me. Small movements create submissions, not big movements. Make sense? Let's go. So 3 different variations, a very similar type of idea. Again, the goal for me was understanding that with the advancement in heel hooks, we saw a reduction in knee bars, right? Because a knee bar can be pretty easy to escape or defend. The heel hooks get harder because you're closer to the body, the leg is bent. The same with arm locks. If I can reduce the length of my arm, it gets more dangerous for my opponent or for me, and then the person can stay closer to me, right? So the whole goal of this is to reduce the amount of movement to get a finish by getting ourselves closer to the torso and maintaining control as much as we possibly can. This works really well for me. I'm a smaller person. I say it over and over again. I want to reduce the use of my arms. All right, my arms are really good for holding on to things close to my body. They're terrible at holding on far away from my body. Okay, so I want to bring my arms in and like ratchet strap them together like I'm holding on to like a cargo. All right, and then they stay here. And this happens for every submission that I do. If at any point with this connection or here, if I move my torso away from my hands, well then I've moved away from the submission without gaining any tension on the submission. So I ratchet everything nice and tight together and I hug it. Now these things don't move. They have to lock here. They have to lock here. They have to lock here. Wherever they go, they lock. And then I take all that power and I put it into my hips and my quads and my back, and I use my strong muscle groups to extend the body, or extend the arm away or the leg away to get a strong break. Any questions? Yes?
Can you show one more time all the options?
Yeah, of course. Yep. So we did closed guard mirror lock first. So I like to go in and attack the other arm first. So I go underneath, and I push that arm away, circle over, catch this. All right. If I want to get her to grip a hold of me, I want to throw her this direction. So I go for a big hip bump sweep. She grabs. On the recoil, I go hips away, and I scale underneath her. Right? Nice and high here, invisible collar. I want to bring her elbow to my hand or her shoulder by circling underneath. I don't want to move my head away. I want to go underneath her. Ideally, her head is close to my head, not far away from my head out here, right? Then we talked about triangle work. When she goes to the outside to defend, my elbow's down. I move my lock to the top. I move my body. I hinge at my hips at her elbow. I attack her wrist. Bring my head to her hand. Lock it in like ratchet straps. Start moving away. I pull the hand to the top side, and I hip through towards kind of this point of the mat right here for that inside elbow break, that UCL break. If she defends to the outside of the triangle, can you rotate? Perfect. I change my triangle from an inside lock triangle to an outside lock triangle. I'll usually control her head, grab my top leg, switch. This automatically puts me in line with her arm, so I have a nice deadlift posture here. I'm going to bridge up to get access to her wrist. I go rear naked choke grip, bringing my nose to her elbow. I use my leg strength to push away, and I add a small rotation. The really cool thing here, I'll add this too. If she defends this by straightening her arm, all right, I miss the kimura. She goes straight into like a razor arm lock or like a violin armbar. If she continues to escape this, she goes right into a more traditional triangle. So I can use this as a grip break tool to move on to 2, 3, 4 submissions later also. Is that good? Is that good? Yes. Best class ever. Thank you guys.